Pro Truth family, what's going on? I got beautiful Tanya. I got the brother Real out here. You know what I'm saying? We about to do a little commentating on this on Ebony K and Ayan. I think I pronounced her name correctly. Brothers, I just want to. I'm going to point out little things in during the video, but I just want to say this: y'all brothers should be more concerned with with what Ayana said compared to what Ebony K said, and I'm going to point that out. Okay. And another thing, let me say this too. I was when I looked on the manosphere, a lot of men were upset at what Ebony K said when it came to this bus driver thing. But brothers, you should not get in your feelings over what she said. Nothing wrong with her preference. So this is basically going to be part one because I will be doing part two with the DJ Envy and how he was simping. But let's go ahead and get into the video.
Anla Van Zant, we are so blessed to have you here with us today on the Griot. I want to start, dear, with something that we share. Which is that we are both attorneys by trade. You are a lawyer, you have a legal background. And as women in the law, Ayanla, do you believe that that lens, that legal lens, informs our perspective and the way we show up in the world as women?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I got out. Yeah, very, very masculine, very intellectual, almost stripped and robbed of humanity. It really shows the dichotomy between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And for me, it just didn't feed my soul. And so I had to get out.
I feel that, and I do feel that I might have heard on a date or two, Ayanla, that we are not in a courtroom, Ebony. You can put the gavel down, and I do, I do feel it can spill over into the way I show up in my womanhood, which is really the center of this conversation today, Ayanla. We want to discuss masculine energy, feminine energy. I do want to start with kind of a news framing, which is that women's rights across the country, especially black women's rights, they're under attack. Lots of laws are banning abortion. They are regulating what we can and cannot do with our bodies. What do you think happens for black women when this type of siege is at play and we don't feel we have anyone to protect us?
Right. Well, the first thing I think we do is we go into anger. We go into anger without a clear ask. Doesn't make sense to be angry unless you've got to ask. What is it that you're asking for? People can say anything in the world, but that doesn't mean that they get a right to do it. It doesn't mean that they get a right to affect you. But because so many of us are programmed and conditioned and educated to think like men, we respond like men. And when I mean men, I don't mean two-legged beasts. I mean, I mean in the masculine energy, and it becomes competitive, it becomes aggressive, it becomes againstness.
Yes, ma'am.
So in this part where she's talking about this, right? And I have a question, like, because I've always been complimented by my bosses that have been male about me showing up and not making it difficult for them when it comes to being emotional and bringing my emotional part to it. I think that if a woman's going to enter into the workforce, she should not get any special treatments to coddle her feelings or coddle her quote unquote nurturing side. Because when you sign up for a particular job, especially an attorney, I do not want my attorney to be caring and loving. I want my attorney to be effective, efficient, proficient, know the law, and be as thorough and tenacious as possible because I want to win my case. So when we're talking about the workplace, we should be competing as men. We should be just as articulate, just as skillful as men. And we shouldn't use our quote unquote womanhood or femininity to gaslight or manipulate a situation at work. And I don't understand why, because even Ayana comes off as, even though I don't know if she thinks she's being feminine, but she comes off screaming and yelling. And we've seen episodes where she's screamed, she's yelled. And in my opinion, she has disrespected women, calling them gutter snipes. So, or something to that effect. So I'm trying to understand as this goes along, where she's sending subtle, you can tell she's sending subtle hits to Ebony. From even when Ebony acknowledged, hey, we have a good a background in as an attorney, blah blah blah, and she's like, well, that's why I stopped doing it because it made me masculine. It's like you can see the subtle jabs I think that she's taking. But I just wanted to say that, and I don't know how you all feel, but I think that women should show up for their job with the qualifications that that job requires.
I could agree with the qualifications, but certain jobs do require you to be masculine. And even when it comes to going to court, no matter what anybody says, even with the judge, their emotions are going to kick in, whether especially if it comes even when it comes to family court, and of course I've seen it personally, not just with me, but just be sitting in court with other people, and some people will get a little bit harsher sentences just because of their feelings. Even with the attorney, even the attorney's the same way. So I get what you're saying, Tanya, but at the end of the day, feelings and emotions are going to affect the workplace or your job or your career, no matter what. But go ahead, Real.
I do agree with Tanya with they should come to do the job. I've seen both sides. I've worked with women that were incredibly like I don't know if I can call it masculine. They just did their job. I just think that because it's been predominantly a male ran um, um, world when it came to like especially corporate America, I think that it's just we just separate what it means to be in those positions to be catered to a masculine entity. But no, I think if she's doing her job, but I also seen the flip side in certain scenarios where they were more compassionate about a make or break situation. But I've seen both. I can say it's like 50-50 though, to be honest with you. But
Hmm.
I never looked at, as far as working with women like that. Never, I guess the way I run what I do, uh, I'm big on work ethic. So I just don't I don't if it's not beyond work, I don't really care. So the way you work, if you're doing it by the books, then I prefer that. I agree. I prefer that. I don't like if everything's good and everything's the process is right. I agree that we can BS a little bit, but no, I think that I should feel the same way I feel working with men than with women when it comes to the emotional aspect of working.
Okay, I could agree. I could agree with that. Let's go ahead and continue.
And that's not who we are as women. It just isn't. And I think for Black women, particularly for us, the way that we've been programmed and conditioned and educated in the society to expect less, to accept less,
Mm.
to be angry and to complain, but to not really step into our authentic self, our authentic power as women, and create what we want, even if that's create the demand. Oh, no, not here, not today.
Mm. Mm. Okay, I hear you articulating, Ayanla, this masculine energy traits, the competitiveness, the assertiveness. Tell me how you would frame
Aggressiveness,
feminine traits.
aggressiveness,
Aggressive. Okay,
grace.
aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive, not assertive. It's okay for a woman to be assertive. Grace,
Mm.
first of all. I think we've
Mm.
lost our grace. We move in such a harsh and hard way. Grace, compassion, um, nurturing, nourishing,
Mm.
elegance. How about majesty? How about divinity? How about holiness? This is not a language you hear coming out of most women's mouths, but they'll talk about being a boss, being a diva, being, in charge. And so many of us are either not seated in our throne as queens, or we're in the throne and the crown is crooked, meaning we're in the
Mm.
throne and we don't really know how to hold that place without the masculine aggressiveness and demanding and attachment. And it's killing us. It really is.
So, in a recent interview with our dear friends over at the Breakfast Club, that went very viral for very good reason, you said that women are being trained to be men in skirts.
Yeah.
I will acknowledge, I will say I was triggered. I was a hit dog, and I hollered to the entire production team to get you here today, because I actually think you're right. I think you're right, Ayanla. I do think that I'll just speak for myself vulnerably. When I think of a masculine posture and what I would expect a man to do in my life, two things come top of mind, and they are provide and they are protect. And when my lived experience, and I think I'm still relatively young, I guess, but I'm 40 in September. So, I've had some relationships. And I've yet to find a man who has shown, this includes even my father, who was absent. I've yet to have a male energy that provided or protected me consistently.
So, brother, before I even let her continue, because I know Yana's she's gonna say something. Something she said that she's never had any type of protection, and she's never really had a male figure to show her what a man is supposed to represent. But for some reason, women know exactly what a man is supposed to do. But a woman will never tell you what they're supposed to do for that man. But again, they all know what a man is supposed to do, which is provide and protect. Those are the two basics. And the part about her compete with men and masculine energy, a lot of our women are, especially our black women, they are raised to compete with men. They are not raised to compliment men. They are raised to compete. That's why a lot of fathers and mothers, but most even the fathers are telling their children, especially their little girls, go out there, go to college. Nothing wrong with that, but no one's teaching them about motherhood. No one's teaching them about how to be a wife or what it takes to be a wife. So once they get in these relationships, they're lost. Most of them are lost, brothers. But go ahead, Tanya.
So what she's actually about to explain, what you didn't allow, is that she didn't have a father to show up in her life to teach her what a man is supposed to do. So she believes that a man is supposed to protect and provide. So at the end of the day, though, we're not supposed to do all of those things to random men at all.
Mm-hmm.
I know when to cut it on and off. I do have my own inks about certain things like that I struggle with, which is standing up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that I definitely have an issue with, right? It's the having the need to defend myself in a relationship that I should be feeling protected by, and not thinking that this guy is against me. But everything else, no man has ever complained about me feeling like competing against him with his work and all that. I totally respect and admire a hardworking man. Maybe in her case, because she didn't have her father, then maybe she does compete. But I beg to differ that women who actually had fathers, especially ones that actually was raised not without their biological mother,
Mm-hmm.
because one thing for sure is that we're going to actually admire the hard work in a man. And we know that we're not competing with them. We want to add on to it. So I think, though, what she's saying is having that lack thereof, that she had to define it for herself. And defining it for herself was through society. And society told her that a man not only, but a man is supposed to protect and provide. So she's going to explain why she feels, right, that if a man ain't bringing no money, is not protecting or providing for her, they're not going to upset nothing over here. And I totally get what she means, because she had to get to where she is without a man. And that means her father. So You got to come stronger than that. You got to come stronger than being a bus driver making $19 an hour. You got to come stronger than being a guy with a big dick that's talking nicely to her but don't have anything to offer her. And I think that's the message missing, is that she said it. Her father was not there to provide something to her, right? Which is manhood, like showing her an example of a man.
Isn't that what I just said? All right. Let's go ahead and
You might have said that. I'm sorry. I just said it in a female way. My bad.
okay. But what's up, Real?
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna keep saying this. Your father is not an example of a man; he's a representation. If you're looking like your father as an example, then you will come to a fell conclusion when it comes to finding what you want. You should always use the proponents that he applied during your upbringing as representations. So I'm sorry for I just wanted to throw that in there. But I am curious because Tanya said that she's going to expound upon, and I'm just curious to how she's going to say it, because I'm big on how women articulate themselves. So let's see.
Consistently ever. So I think that I have taken on the reins to protect and provide for myself, because what I'm not going to do, Ayanla, is be without. Baby, it's not happening.
Be without what?
So that
Be
would
without what?
be without protection, and be without the necessities of life.
Okay.
But I say that with an invitation, Ayanla, check me. Show me the error of my ways. Tell me how I might be missing it, because I might be.
Okay. I too am an alpha woman. So I understand what that means. And I tell people all the time, I was a horrible mother. I was a great father. And I was a horrible mother because I'd never been mothered. So I didn't know how to affirm, how to.
So before I continue, and I know that I'm stopping so quickly, brothers, ain't nobody no alpha woman, all right? But she's already and she's
Right.
already and this is and brothers, I'm actually going to point out, because a lot of brothers from the manosphere was all on her side. But I'm going to pick at her at some of the things that she's saying. All right? Because everybody wanted to tear up Ebony K. I ain't got no problem with what she said. But Iana, already, she was an alpha woman. And then she said she was a father, but she wasn't a mother. Brothers, that is a no-no. You no, I don't care if you're a single mother. You are not mother and father. All right? So I just want to just point that out, brothers. Let's continue.
To nurture, how to nourish, how to guide. I knew how to direct, how to demand, how to discipline, and like you said, provide and protect. Those are masculine energies. And the distinction here is men build, women create. So we know how to build. We know how to get to the external and get the work done and drive and push and do it. We don't know how to be still, create it, and allow it to come to us. And I learned that when I lost everything. I learned how to create because I had already built and it all crumbled. The house, the husband, the job, the contracts, the professional career in the world, stripped of it all. All the attachments, the necessities of life, the creature comforts, until I was stripped down to the bare bone. And then I had to learn how not to build. Build is external. Create is internal. And we as women have the power to create and attract anything we desire. But we don't get still. We won't shut up. And we manage everything.
Yes, sir.
I also want to point out, I thought you was going to say any woman that openly admits that they was a horrible mother is a sick individual. So read between the lines. She said she had openly admitted that she was a horrible mother. And she said it with so much vigor and she clenched her hands as if it was like, "Grr," like that's watch women like that. And when we get to the popular statements between these two women about the bus driver, you'll see just how scary this woman in the blue is.
The only reason why I didn't point it out because she knew that she was. So, brothers, I'll say this. I mean, I think she's in her 50s, Ayana, but it took her a long time. She destroyed a lot of things. She destroyed her family because she wanted to be, quote unquote, masculine or a leader in her home. So she destroyed a lot. But now at 50, she's taking accountability. And I've said this before. A lot of women don't take accountability, or they have a childlike mentality and they don't really mature mentally. And I'm not saying all, but a lot of them don't mature mentally until they're about 45. Why is that? It's because gravity has taken place. Boobs is sagging, booty turned to chocolate pudding,
Excuse me.
and that's pretty much it. Don't take it personal. So
Hold on. No, I'm not taking it personal. Where is this actual coming from? You're saying that women don't mentally mature until 45? Mentally mature to do what, though? Exactly.
to start using their head, because a lot of women would use their looks and their bodies to get what they want. Now, if it's not you,
But a
don't.
lot of women can't use their looks and bodies.
I
Not everybody is a looker.
You're absolutely correct. That's why I said a lot, but I didn't say all. I said a lot. So there are a lot of beautiful women out there, and by the time that the wrinkles come in and they know that their looks is not what it used to be in their 20s,
Wrinkles aren't coming in at 45 for Black women. Sorry.
That's the topic. Yeah.
we back.
I will say this. The edge factor for a lot of women will be that if they're exceeds the average standard for beauty. So I think when it comes to expectations, it's kind of not wavered on some women when they look above average in attractiveness, especially at later years in their life.
And they're also
Especially in
well-spoken
business.
and educated. Just wanted to put that out there.
We'll get to that later. Let's go ahead and continue.
Through fear, control, and survival, as opposed to feeling, knowing, and blooming or flourishing. Complete different thing. But since we've never been trained, we haven't been trained, we haven't been taught. So we do it the way we were taught to do it, which is very masculine in nature.
And very external. I feel that you are describing me to a T, Ms. Iyanla. Now, is this why you are conducting a rites of passage program so that women, all of Black women in particular, can learn to create?
Women, so that we can learn our authentic power, that we can learn the distinction between a powerful woman and a woman in her power. There's a distinction, but there are skills and tools and practices and processes that we have to learn. At every age, the 20s have a process, the 30s have a process, the 40s have a 50, 60. We each have a process. And if you don't learn your 20 process, you're going to be doing it at 50. If you don't complete your 30 process, you're going to be doing it at 60. And that means you'll be running on overdrive instead of seated in your power. Yes. And the secrets are there. They come from our culture. They come from our history. But no one has taught us. So me, as a descendant of Africans and Native Americans, I have a very lovely blend and mix. And for a long time, I didn't do it because women in general, they don't want to hear. They think their way is right. And I'm crazy when I say sit down, shut up, and listen, and you can create what you want. They don't want to hear that.
Well, I want to hear it. So tell me when the sign up is. I don't want to miss it. Let me know when you're taking registrations because I am curious. I had a very lovely single black mother, and I'm going to get to the statistics on single black motherhood and family life. But she was, by definition, more of a father figure in terms of providing and protecting. And I think that's very common. So according to the U.S. Census, Iyanla, 23% of households in the country are single-parent households, and we know 80% of them are led by women. How does this affect the child, both little girls, little boys, non-binary?
I don't know where she got her numbers from. The last time I checked, in 2013, it was at 78%. In I think it's 1961 or 2, it was at 20-something percent. So I don't know where she got. She said the U.S. Census.
She just said 80%, and you just said 78.
No.
It's only 2% difference.
No, she said
it's 80% within the 20%, which I think she's doing clear across the board. Though, Slim, she's not.
Okay.
It's not Black America.
Okay, you know what?
I'm confused. She said what now and again?
Okay, no, she said.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
She said 20 to 23%. And she said within that is 80% is ran by single mothers.
Oh,
Okay.
I got it. Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Okay.
so so I got to be incorrect. That the reason why I said in 2013 because I thought maybe I was looking at black households. So she's probably talking about all of America.
Yeah,
so
you was looking. Yeah.
Okay, so then my apologies. Let's go ahead and continue.
Non-binary children, how does that frame their expectation of women when the mother is in charge?
It all depends on what the mother or the woman demonstrates about being a woman. If she's demonstrating that it's hard and it's rough and nobody's helping me and I gotta do this and you gotta do it this way, then that's what the children are gonna get. If she's angry because she's alone, if she's desperate if she's not conscious, if she's not careful. I mean, when I look at the damage that I did to my children, not being clear about who I am as a feminine expression of the chief architect and creator of the universe. When I understand that I didn't know that and how to tap into that and the damage I did to my children who I love with all my heart. As soon as I discovered how off I was, I confessed it to them and asked them to watch me as I rebuilt who I was. And I'm still very alpha, but I'm in my throne and my crown is straight.
Okay. I'm looking forward to straightening my crown, Dr. Iyanla. Let me ask you this. Let's get to the logistics, though. Let's get to the...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how does this one woman tells us that we need to sit down, shut up, and listen, and that we wanted to be alpha, and her being alpha was actually building rather than creating, and that she was when she was alpha and aggressive, that she was a better father than a better mother, but yet proclaims that she's still alpha, but her crown is straight. This sounds I'm not understanding her. She's not fooling me. I still hear a bitter woman. I still hear an unhealed woman. I don't hear, because I don't feel like she is even taking her own advice. Like, I don't know many women. I've never heard any woman say they're alpha woman, except for her. I've heard men call women that, but I just never, in my group of women, successful women, career women, from whether they were an attorney or, an actress, I've never heard them say that they refer to themselves as an alpha woman. That never came from even Eboni's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I find that interesting.
Okay. Well, I don't really have a response for that. Go ahead, Real.
Yeah, she's clinically insane. And the way she's smiling all devilishly, like, it looks sick to me. Like, I don't even know what, like, she'll say the most awful parts about her trauma being a mother, and she makes it seem like it's liberating, or like she conquered the walls, or she opened Pandora's box. But it I can tell, like, it really left a stain on her. And I don't think that she's self-reflected. I think she's simply, I can't even put it into words, but she's literally a virus. Like right now, she's like, it's just crazy.
So, brothers, I hope y'all hearing these two intelligent people speaking. And again, my focus was more to point out on Ayana, not Ebony K, because I'm gonna just say this: Ebony K is the typical modern day woman. Not nothing. Not. I mean, do I have something against that? Not really, but she's pretty much the modern day American woman. So let's go ahead and continue.
Let's get to the logistics. We know that black women are earning college degrees faster than anybody else. Many of us are doing like we're doing, Ayanla. We're getting those terminal degrees, those JDs, MD, PhDs. We also are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs, along with Latina women in America. Pew Research said that women are now out-earning men
Yes.
in 22
Yes.
of the largest cities in America.
I don't know where she getting. Okay, maybe she did say the largest city. So let's go ahead and continue. I apologize.
America, including where I live, New York, DC, LA, you name it. When we talk, and I know that you've said that you cannot teach a man or tell a man how to be a man. So I will not ask you to indict men in this question. But I do want you to speak, Ayanla, to how women need to position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
If
a bus
he owns
driver?
the bus, if he owns
No.
it, if he owns the bus,
See, that's a
Ayanla.
problem. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Okay.
Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well, I would date a bus driver. But we think that it's another human being's responsibility to give us what we need instead of us building together. I can build with a bus driver. I'd have my little stash over on the side in my prenup, but I could build with a bus driver.
Now, brothers, before I
So,
let y'all go, brothers, what Iana said was more dangerous than what Ebony K said. Ebony K only talked about her preference. I don't even have an issue with what she said at all because that's her preference. Here's the thing. She's dating off of her how much she makes. So she's dating when it comes to her income. The problem with Iana, even though it sounded good, she has a backup plan. So if you don't succeed, brothers, even though I tell all you brothers that you don't need a woman to get when it comes to your career. You should be able to build without a woman. But for her to, when a woman is basically taking care of you, she is going to treat you like a child. So if you fail, she already has a backup plan, and she can kick you out. She can move on to the next. She can move on to the next dude. So again, brothers, that's why with the manosphere, I think I went to at least 6 different YouTube pages on the manosphere that was all hating on Ebony K. Why would you hate on Ebony K? All she talked about was her preference. It was Iana that y'all should be concerned with because there are women that think like that. That's just like if you move in a woman's house and you ain't doing shit and she has to take care of you, she is going to treat you like a child. But go ahead, Tanya.
okay. I'm glad you caught that about Ayayash, because I think that she thinks that she's slick and that through her speaking with power and authority that people are not going to listen to her true essence. I think Ebony recognized that she received, Ebony saying that Mrs. Van Zant received a nice sum of money in her prenup. I don't know if it got to that part yet, but she's going to say that. And if you notice, she said, I'm willing to build with the bus driver. So that means if the man said that he likes driving a bus, then what are you building? He wants to be a bus driver. You want to think you can change him. And if it doesn't work, like you said, Miss Van Zant, you got a prenup on the side. So if you are married to a man, you shouldn't be having your little prenup on the side. If you with that man, it should be one pocket of money that you guys are, or not one pocket, meaning no other revenue, but pockets of money that you are sharing. I shouldn't have a stash on the side. We're growing together, like you said. So I think that if anybody is honest, it's Ebony. She's saying if he owned the bus, so she's not going to waste this man's time if he's a bus driver. And by the way, all these people say that, I mean, when we were talking about it, they were making it seem like bus drivers make 200K, all this stuff. A bus driver, when I looked up the stats and statistics, it said roughly around $19 an hour. Miss Williams, Eboni K, is worth $3 million. So we have to be really, really, really realistic here. She has a lifestyle. She has a way of her grooming, all of that, her education, things that she put in effort for. So she should date. If she wants to date within her tax bracket, she should not be criticized for doing that. I think it's interesting that Miss Van Zant, though, has her little pocket and stash on the side here. So really what I feel that she's using the guy for is just sex. She's not going to use him to provide and protect. She's not going to use him for exactly what men say that they should be. I don't want to use the word used, but should show up to a relationship with, and that's providing and protecting. How can she criticize her? How can she criticize Ebony for wanting the man to do just that?
I'm not even upset.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all.
Not even upset.
Oh, my fault.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, she's very sneaky with her wordplay. I have to give her, because I didn't even catch that. Slim pointed that out the other day, and even though I didn't have any issue with what Ebony said at all, because I just was judging her based on the fact that on another show she said that dating a blue collar worker is the equivalent of making a DNF, and that's where my biasness came from, just when I saw her. So what she said was nothing wrong. I would trust a woman that is in my face telling me her standard than a woman saying, yeah, I want to build. Yeah, we're going to do this. But I'm going to have this, this, and this on the side. But yeah, I'm here to help. But I'm going to have this, this, and this, and this. And you're smiling in my face. And that is scary as fuck. And part of my language. But yeah, and I do want to just point out something about middle America. I will say 42, let's just say New York, if you're making 50K, you could, no one's going to be struggling. I talked about this the other day. I had to break it down to people that if you don't know how to finance yourself, you're going to think 40 to 50K is not nothing. But even in New York, you can get a house for 200 to 250 to 300K house. You can get a nice new regular sedan car. The only difference between the fact that if you could live in luxury is that the simple fact alone is that you wouldn't be living in luxury. You wouldn't just stop at a McDonald's because it's conveniently there. You wouldn't buy anything luxury as far as what you need in your house. You would buy things that you actually need to have a living. So I think a woman thinking that if she's talking to a man in middle America, she wouldn't survive. Yeah, if you don't know how to manage your finances, I agree. But again, back to Ebony, Tanya says she makes 3 million. That means if she's valued at 3 million, that means she's easily bringing home at least 500K a year. If you equate that to being valued, she's easily bringing over 500K a year cash. So yeah, her class would be a guy that would probably own things. So there's nothing wrong with what she said.
I gotta agree. So again, brothers, Y'all need to be more concerned with what Ayana said. I'm not concerned with what Ebony said. She said what she said. She's again, she's a typical modern day woman. Most women that are career bound are going to look for a man that matches them financially. They're not really looking for love. And here's the other thing. She's 40. She's almost 40. So she's past her prime. Let's go ahead and continue.
So I think some of the criteria that we look for in the reality of today keeps us unhappy, keeps us angry, keeps us imbalanced. And then when the men show up, we want to beat them up because they're not living up to our standards and criteria. And it's not working, beloved. It's just not working. So it's not that it's bad or wrong, it's obsolete. It's obsolete. We have to come up with a new way of being. I don't believe in carrying a man. A man has to do for himself. My son got his first job when he was 9. 9, okay? Because
Let me stop her right there. She says she doesn't believe in carrying a man, but didn't she just say
She
that
gonna
she
carry
would
that
build?
bus driver.
But she would build that bus driver up. See, she contradicted
Mm-hmm.
herself. See, brothers, I
Mm-hmm.
again, y'all gotta pay attention to what women say. A lot of and I've said this before. If you let the woman talk long enough, 99.9% of the time they are going to contradict themselves, and then they are going to backtrack once you pull their card. I don't make these things up, brothers. Let them talk. I know sometimes you want to cut them off because sometimes they ain't talking about shit. But if you let them talk long enough, they will contradict themselves. I promise you. But let's go ahead and continue.
you're a
No,
black man,
yeah.
you will know how to take care of yourself. But I think the way we measure it, it's just obsolete.
I think that's a factual analysis. For whatever we want, expect, we're told we were going to get, we got to look at the numbers and what's available on the marketplace. So you're certainly not wrong in the
Or
analysis. And Yana, let's tell the truth and shame the devil. We know what you got in that prenup would never be little. It'll never be small, child. That's a big old mound of assets. But that's okay. But that's okay. Let's spend a little more time just so we're really clear in this conversation, Dr. Van Zant, difference between masculine energy and feminine energy, because I know that is not necessarily gender assigned, right? This is
no,
bigger than that. This is bigger than genitalia, right?
right. Absolutely. When we talk about man is mind,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so and I kind of know what she's saying because I saw this, but if she says that masculine and feminine energy isn't gender assigned, then what's wrong with women being masculine? Because in the beginning she said that women are masculine and women are now being men in skirts.
Hmm.
And now she's about to explain how masculine and femininity are not gender assigned. I don't get what she's saying exactly. So are we or aren't we? And then if we are not gender assigned with the masculinity and femininity, then why is it a good or bad thing? It's confusing.
Well, we about to find out, but I will say this: a lot of women that are quote unquote masculine or want to turn on their masculine energy don't know how to turn it off at all. But that was a good question, Tanya. Let's go ahead and find out what Iana has to say.
mind, woman is heart. And so many of us have guarded, broken, um, um, closeted hearts that we do everything from here. And here, as a woman that's been educated, that, like you said, has a degree, here will run out. Here will lie to you. This will never lie to you. But we've been taught not to trust this. We've been taught not to trust our knowing, our intuition. But a man can have a good idea and be brilliant. So we want to have good ideas. But for us, our power is in knowing, and it's in getting that that intuition and moving on it. That our power is in what we feel, not necessarily emotion, but what we feel in our body. But so many of us are out of touch with our body. We'll give our body to somebody else before we really get in touch with it ourselves because we're so busy doing till we don't know how to be. When I talk about feminine energy, again, I'm talking about the grace, the compassion, the humanity. I'm talking about mercy. I'm talking about silence, stillness. I'm talking about flow and movement. I'm talking about speaking from a place of intuitive knowing, love. I'm not, and that's not the masculine way. The masculine way is justice, structure, power, is control. That's masculine. Feminine is dominion, not control. But most of us, many of us, I'm in recovery, are control freaks. So it's a whole nother way, a whole nother vibe. She raises her hand. There's a whole nother vibe that we can tap into, that we have to tap into because the world is dying. This society, this system is coming down. And if we don't step into our power as women, we're going down with it. With the fall of the materialism and the collapse of the systems and the structures, we gotta. How many women do you know with degrees could live outside and survive for 3 days? On the
You know, that's funny that she said that because that was a question that was asked.
Why
Uh,
do we need to?
that was a question that was asked earlier. Now, Tanya, you asked why do we need to? You're asking, so you don't. You
We
don't
got
need.
houses.
You don't need to. But that was just a question. Could you survive without some of this technology that we have? If it was just basic, we just had to live off the basics. Do you think as a woman you would be able to survive? That's a question. Or would you need a
Why
man?
do we need to? Why do I need to think primal when we don't live in those primal times? I should be thinking futuristic. Why would I think about dumb stuff like that?
It Tanya, it really isn't dumb stuff because a lot of the stuff that you have now can be taken away. So don't just because you have it.
Absolutely. So if I was put in a situation where things were taken away, I would not think about living outside. I would actually think about getting back on my feet, figuring out a way to make it happen. And I can probably call a man. Understand why do I need to live outside? There's no man in my life that no man in my life would allow me to live outside. No woman, let alone that, but definitely no man.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least
So
you
what's
did.
wrong with me
Well,
saying that I would call a man?
no, there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, I'm glad you
Because
said
I
that.
would call my father. I can call friends. Like, it doesn't make any sense when people say, oh, women can't live outside by themselves. It's like, why do we need to?
Well, let's go ahead and continue.
on the earth. How many do you know? I know I can. I know what to eat. I know where to find water. I'm not saying we got to go back to the rustic times of the wild wild west, but I'm saying being in contact and in touch with the earth in a way that empowers us.
Yeah.
Take the pants off. Take the pants off. Let your hoo-ha get some air.
A new definition to breathe again, huh, Yanla? Listen, it's funny you say that. I only can survive the wilderness, and I know for sure, and I actually was able to do it for about 12 days because I was on a CBS reality show called Beyond the Edge that challenged me, though. It challenged me to do those things in a way I'd never done before. Before you leave us, I need to ask you about how what you're saying for women to sit in there knowing, be quiet for a minute, shut up and tune into our bodies, tune into our innate knowing, as I hear you say, but how that works alongside feminism. Because you've said you're not knocking feminism. You're not saying women cannot be police officers, firefighters, play football, or anything else. But you are saying that this hustle culture has given women a need to feel like we must be in competition with men. Is that...
I don't know why she said play football, but let's go ahead and continue. Ain't nobody trying to watch y'all play football. Nobody even wait. Listen, and I know they're about to talk about this competition, and I've already said this earlier that women. I don't know why women want to compete with men. Even a prime example is the WNBA. You got women in the WNBA that feel that they should be making just as much as LeBron James. But if anybody's ever watched any of the WNBA games, you look at how many people are in the stands, and I guarantee you, it ain't that many. And if you was to ask any woman what team won the championship in the last 2 years, they couldn't tell you. They probably don't even know how many teams is on there. So again, with a lot of these jobs, a lot of these sports and all that stuff, women they trying to compete with you, brothers. And for what? Men are not trying to compete with women. Women are always trying to compete with men. I don't make these things up, brothers. But go ahead, Tanya.
That is not true. What woman is trying to compete with a man in football, boxing, basketball? We have our own sports. And actually, the football team is called, isn't it lingerie football or something like that? They're dressed up sexy playing football amongst other women, sexy women.
Okay.
WNBA is playing basketball amongst other women, boxing amongst other women. We're not making the case that we belong in a male sports arena, that we want to fight men. I don't think that's the case. It's just that we want to be able to box or want to be able to box each other, play basketball amongst each other. I don't think the case is that we want to battle men. Even in the feminist movement, we're not saying that we want to battle men. Like for me, I feel like a woman should just be compensated according to her performance action, not because she's a woman and not because there's some sympathy plea. If she can't perform, she shouldn't get paid. If she can perform, then she should get paid. And she should negotiate as well. Nobody should take any sympathy on her if she doesn't know how to negotiate her salary. So we should be teaching women, instead of sitting down and shutting up, because most of these women have to work, we should be teaching them how to negotiate. Don't accept an offer on the first go around. If they don't accept you, move forward. If you're not, if you don't feel like you're being um, properly compensated, I can say I've never complained about a salary ever. I've always negotiated. I've been taught that by my male mentor. So I don't understand, like, when we're saying that we're trying to compete, I don't think that any woman that I know is trying to compete with a man at all. Like, we're not going in saying, oh, I'm going to compete with that man. I'm going to beat that man. Little secret kept is that most assertive women, they date and they want assertive or aggressive, borderline aggressive men. Like, we don't want punks. We don't want men that's going to yield to us. That's not what we want to go after at all. So I think it's a misconception in how career women show up. And I think that men who can't compete with us, who really want to compete with us, they take these subtle shots at us, which you've probably seen in the manosphere. Because there's no need after this interview. There was nothing aggressive about Eboni. There was nothing off-putting about Eboni. She didn't beat up men. She didn't say anything vulgar. If anything, someone who's been beating up men and beating up her kids, metaphorically speaking, has been the woman on the right. Just saying. And that's Ayanna Van Zant.
I'm glad you said all that. I my focus again, brothers. My focus was on Iana, not Ebony K. And there is a female boxer that has clearly said that she could take a couple of men. Boxing. I wish I knew her name, but I will get it for you, and I'll actually send you the clip of her actually saying that she could take out a couple of boxers, male boxers. So,
Okay,
and
but that was probably one woman, right?
but
Not a group of
that
boxing women
you
that want to
hold on,
integrate.
Tanya, you clear. I'm not gonna do the back and forth with you. You ain't about to get. Don't worry about it. I know what you're trying to do, but it ain't gonna work. Let's go ahead and continue.
That's or frame it for
Feminism
me.
for me, feminism for me is a political or a social construct. And
Hmm.
a woman empowerment as a woman is an internal experience that becomes an external expression. I can be solid in myself as a woman. I may not want to play football or carry a gun on my hip. I may not. But the distinction is I'm not looking to anything outside of myself for my power. Not. And I know that everything is coming to me to stretch, strengthen, grow me into my authentic and original being.
Let me stop here real quick because I'm not gonna let you slide with that, Tanya. I'm sorry. I was in the military for 20 years, and I had women that worked around me that thought they could do better than some men. And a lot of the women that I worked around were lazy. But for some reason, an E4 male and an E4 female both got paid the same thing, but they wasn't doing the same type of work. Even when it came to just shoveling, women were not doing the same, were not working as hard as men. Even lifting certain things, they were not working as hard as men. So again, why and here's the thing, why are women in the military if they can't do some of the jobs? You even have women that wanted to be a ranger, wanted to go infantry, which is a male dominant MOS or a male dominant job, front line. There were women that were complaining that they could not be in the infantry. And then and then there was actually one that went through the ranger course. It didn't work out very well for her. So again, women are trying to compete with men. Men are not trying to compete. I ain't never heard no man say, "Man, I could babysit better than you, Boquisha." I ain't never heard nothing like that.
Well, here's the thing. You sounds like there's the soft spot that I hit, and my bad. Didn't know the wound was still open. But when you're saying competing, you said the woman was lazy. So when I think of competing, I think that she's trying to outdo him, not necessarily getting paid the same amount. So there's a problem within the military system. Well, it's not her fault that she's getting paid the same amount. That would be a problem with the way the military.
Tanya, I'm not worried about the pay. I'm just talking about the competing part. If me and you went in the military as an E1, we're both going to get paid the same regardless. But that doesn't mean that we're both doing the same amount of work. We could be both doing the same exact job, and I'm still going to work harder than you. You're not going to work as you may think.
So where's the competing part if they're lazy? Where's the competing part? I'm trying to understand.
You can't. Women come into fields that are dominated by men, and then they think that they could do the same thing.
But I'm trying to understand where. Okay, so you have a problem with the military setup because they allow women in, and you're saying that the women are lazy, and then they're getting paid the same. So I'm saying that if she's lazy, how is she competing?
I don't want to fight you.
All right, and that's number one. Number two, I can say that when you made well, oh, a man doesn't compete. He doesn't say I babysit better. That's funny. That's pretty sexist. But what I think that men do is I hear a lot that men say, you think you're smarter than me, or, a man might try to align himself with me for a promotion. I've seen that. I've seen them say little smart things in the boardroom, stick to cooking or stay in the kitchen. Those are competing words. So while you might not see it, but me being a woman, I actually do experience that quite often. Even, well.
Let's go ahead and continue.
And inside, I'm not guarded. I'm not harsh. I'm not brutal. I'm not violent. I'm not violent in my speaking. Women speaking today is so violent toward themselves and toward one another. So I'm not talking about a political construct, the women's movement.
Right.
I'm talking about the move of women for themselves, within themselves, so that they can be themselves in a completely different way.
It's internal. I hear you. I hear you.
It is.
One
It is.
thing before you leave us, I have to ask one thing about dating. The reality is there are more men right now, Ayanla, on dating apps and seeking partnership than there even are women, contrary to popular belief. And a lot of men
Yeah.
say that they're struggling, probably because of what you named earlier, probably because the expectations of many of the women are out of sync with what society is offering.
I'm trying to figure out where she gets her information from.
It's the proof.
It
It's true.
it is true.
It's true. They said that they said women have more of a selection online to online dating because there are more men uh trying to date online. So women have more options online for sure. She didn't make that stat up.
Okay. All righty. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of this stuff, I'm gonna look some of this stuff up, and I wish I would have. I did. I wish I should have looked it up before. I just, when you get on some of these dating apps, as a prime example, I'm on. I am on a dating app, Badu. I don't even really mess with it because in order for me to actually chat with somebody, I gotta pay. I gotta pay money to continue chatting with somebody. I can send them a message, but if they like my picture, I gotta pay for them just to see who liked my picture. I gotta pay for that, and I'm not paying. I ain't paying no subscription fee. It ain't that serious.
Can I can I say something? I never see like very successful wealthy men like real ever complaining about women on the app about how they look, about women, modern day women, y'all are doing this to men, y'all making men do this, y'all are gold diggers. I don't ever hear like successful men doing that. I only hear like the broken men or the bitter men or those men that don't live up to, I guess, societal standards doing that. It's almost like a gnat at the cookout in the potato salad. It's like, get out of here. It's just so weird. I just never ever, even some of my successful male friends, when I let them hear and read some of the stuff that's on this internet, aka the manosphere, it's like quite interesting because they don't have the same complaints that these other guys have. You have a group of guys that just complain and complain and complain and complain and think they're going to get coddled by people like Miss Van Zant, no disrespect. But like she said, she got a little stash on the side. So when you start acting up, you out of here, buddy. But then you have Ebony who wants to build with someone that's just in her tax bracket, and there's a problem. She's upfront about it. I just find it so weird that men show their true colors and think that they're hurting someone by saying the things that you all have said. I just don't see successful men doing that. I see them worrying about building generational wealth, finding a woman that complements them or women, and just moving forward. Most people who are successful don't take the time to troll people, don't take the time to bash people, especially not women. Like to see a man attack a woman and bash her and stuff for her own preferences is just quite weird to me. I just had to say that.
All righty. I'm not gonna. We'll do the back and forth later. Let's continue.
Offering at this point in time, blah, 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 blah. How do women adjust our energy so that we are more successful when it comes to dating? If we're looking to
Well,
date.
do we just want to date or do we want to be partnered? That's one thing. If you have in your consciousness you want to date, you can date forever because you're going to find something wrong with everybody. But if you want to be partnered, my question is, what is your vision? What is it that
I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know if Ebony K is asking for herself or if she's asking for the just women in general. Because last time I checked, Ebony was engaged to a Caucasian man. Nothing wrong with that because I guess that's her preference, but she's
I think she's interviewing. That's all she's doing.
okay.
It's called an interview.
All right. We'll fight later, Tanya. Let's continue.
is it that you see
Yeah.
for yourself, within yourself, about being in partnership? And are you willing to be in partnership as a woman, or do you want to be a dude having a relationship with a man? And when I say a dude, I mean how you manage yourself, how you talk to men. We got to stop talking to
Yeah.
these men like they're boys. even if he is driving the bus and he don't own it, or picking up trash, even if
Brothers, I didn't say it. She did. Our women do talk to men like boys, and they are verbally disrespectful to a lot of black men. That is a known fact. Verbally disrespectful. I don't know what's going on because a lot of men. That's why a lot of men will just walk away. They are not going to deal with that nonsense with a lot of our women. I don't do the back and forth. And a lot of you brothers, I think a lot of you brothers that do, y'all need to stop that back and forth with these women. Let them talk to themselves. If anything, just tell them, hey, if you gonna talk, hey, just get them a tape recorder, brothers. Get them a tape recorder and give it to them so that way they can talk to them, so they can scream and yell at themselves. You do not need to be going back and forth. There are states now where that if you go back and forth with the woman, you can go to jail for that. I think one of the states is Minnesota. You can go to jail for yelling at a woman. Go ahead, Tanya.
Okay, I think I gotta look into that because yelling and talking back and forth is two different things. So I almost said I 100% agree with you till the last part because you remixed that a little bit. But I will agree. But I do think that has something to do with age. I think that younger guys have the energy and they do go back and forth. And older men don't. They just say, "Look, I ain't got time for it," and they do walk away. But we still talk out shit or whatever. So I do say that. But I will make a reason that women talk shit. That's part of our defense mechanism. Most of us can't beat a guy physically, and some of them can't beat a guy mentally. Um, so the way when we're hurt, we use our instrument called the mouth, and we try to protect ourselves through that. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just giving the reason why we do that. And I've been guilty of it as well. I can admit to that, that I can have a sharp tongue, and so yeah, so I agree to that.
So, brothers, I hope y'all heard what she said. She said they verbally abuse you to protect themselves over what? I don't know because
I
again,
say verbal abuse.
brothers, sometimes you could just be telling the woman that, you might even tell her that she's wrong and she will verbally abuse you for no reason. So again, brother, these are the things that you need to avoid. These are things that you need to avoid. If they verbally abuse you once or twice, brothers, throw them in the trash can, find you a new woman. Go ahead, Real.
Yeah, I noticed that she called it an instrument. Um, Usually instruments are used to make music. That's not music to my ears. That's all I gotta say. So that's it.
Well, let's go ahead and finish this out, brothers and sister.
even if he did 7.5 to 15, that doesn't give us a right to use this divine instrument called a throat and a voice to demean somebody. But you know what? If we demean each other, we're going to demean our men. And we have to remember as women that while you put a woman, she's got to feed the babies. So she's going to do what has to be done. We have a level of tenacity that many men haven't experienced, particularly men of color, because their genetic memory is that if they're too much, if they're too grown, if they're too big, if they're too smart, they're going to get hung. That's a genetic memory.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that who they are as men, I don't want to say is fragile or delicate, but it's more sensitive to our mouth. And our mouths are our mouths are out of order. I'm sorry, with each other, but definitely with men.
Brothers, I didn't say it. She said it. She said that the women mouth are out of order. Black women especially. I didn't say it. Iana said it. And here's the thing. And again, brothers, I did point out some things that Iana said that I didn't like. But she's telling the truth. She is telling the truth. That's why a lot of men do not like to actually open up to women, because they will use your hurt as a weapon towards you. But go ahead, Tanya.
Okay, so as I explained to you another time that you said that, I think we have to be careful as to when we say that women do that, right? Because I've never done that. I don't take men's thing that they tell me, especially if we're in a relationship, and throw it in his face, like if he's hurting or something like that. But I'm not going to make an excuse for women that do. But what I will say is, I don't think she's focusing on why a woman's acting like that. It's making it look like men are weak, right? Because that's why she didn't want to say delicate too or whatever. But it makes it look like a man is so fragile when he's getting punched by his father, he's getting talked crazy by other men, he's getting some real rites of passage stuff going on physically and mentally by fathers, bosses, and even sometimes mothers. Yet he can't take his woman's mouth when he has upset her. Many a times when a woman is going crazy like that, it's for a reason. Like there are probably some real masculine women that disrespect men and they're with beta males. But if we're talking about a healthy relationship with a woman who knows her role and a man who knows his role, and there's a healthy relationship, if she starts to pop off at the mouth, it's for a reason. He has done something to her, and has had enough of it. And I don't think we're focusing on the why the woman does that. And I think that's unfair to do that. I think that's unfair to be like, oh, well, you women need to learn how to shut up and don't, be disrespectful to your man and don't yell at your man. More than likely, he's been cheating on her. He has done something horrible to her that she has had to overlook for a long time, and she has had enough.
Real,
I will say this, Tim.
Go ahead, my brother. You
Even
got this.
even though you don't throw like men's like bullshit in their face, like even though you don't do that, but women do that. I've heard too many men in my life tell me the same story, and I'm all about opening up to your women, but women, you had me up until the end. Well, there had to be a reason. You were probably unruly. Like women. Look, there's no excuse for being unruly. There's no excuse. There's no there you can't. If the man is getting on you, 9 times out of 10, it's because of unruly behavior patterns that you exert. If it gets to a point when he's more stern about it, and you're just not considering his views, then I think that she will just get to the point where she can't take it, and she's gonna take it as oh, you're trying to be my father, and he's telling you this is something I don't feel comfortable with. Now you probably don't do that, but women, I've seen it. Like I've seen it in my face with in going out on multiple dates with your friends and stuff. I've seen them literally do it in front of everybody and don't even care. And I'm just like, what the like? I just think that there has to be. It just can't be a coincidence. That's all I gotta say. It cannot be a coincidence.
Right. Well, let's go ahead and finish this out. We ain't got that much time.
It's, and I'm raising my hand. The only reason I can speak this is because I've lived it. And I knew how my life changed when I shifted from external masculine aggression to an internal knowing where I get my guidance and my direction. It's just different. And most women think it won't work in the world. But look at me. And there are hundreds of me. I'm not alone.
Yeah, indeed. Jan Levanzant, just eye-opening. When I hear you talk and I hear the themes and even the tone, it's very Maya Angelou to me. It's very. It is very, which is I intended to be the high compliment that I believe you received it. And none of us are beyond growing and learning. So I deeply appreciate the exchange and the wisdom. Final words to leave us with today.
My sister women, my sister women, my sister women. Not how we are is not bad or wrong. What we've done is not bad or wrong. What we've been taught or learned wasn't bad or wrong. Let us just consider that there's a greater possibility and another way to be.
Up for consideration. I'll put it under advisement, Dr. Van Zant.
Thank you.
I'll take it under advisement.
Well, I want to encourage
thank you.
take it to heart. Take it to heart. Not put it under advisement. Take it to heart.
I know. I'm just kidding. No, I do feel the possibilities of what could this look like in a different way. I feel that on a spiritual level. So thank you. Thank you for challenging that for many of us.
So, brothers, listen, I did this to point out a lot of things that Iana said was very dangerous. Okay? You should not be no brother should really be upset at what Eboni K said at all. If you're working towards a goal, listen, you're not going to get her. So if you work at a blue collar job, hey, you're not going to get her. That's if you're trying. And plus, she's engaged to a white man. So you really have nothing to worry about. So again, brothers, y'all shouldn't be upset at what she said at all. But there will be a part 2 because DJ Envy was acting like a damn simp. But on that note, like, share, and subscribe.